Well, hello there. We are live on all three platforms, Periscope and YouTube. Let's see the chats. I am not in a bathroom this time. I'm not in a bathroom and very, very excited about that. Hey, Joe. I'm actually on the floor because I'm going back and forth between two places. I'm moving, so just everything in the air. I keep getting rid of my furniture, selling each piece of furniture for like a couple dollars each, and it's just crazy in here. So yeah, all that's why I'm sitting on the floor, because all of my furniture is going. Is just I just can't fit everything in a truck. In the truck, I can't fit everything. So the person who's helping me is actually bringing a truck, but it's like really small. It's like a small truck, so it's not gonna fit everything, and I don't feel like, I don't need all this stuff. So, yeah, back after a long weekend. It's Memorial Day, and I actually should have made this live stream about Memorial Day. I just had so much to say about this period thing. Memorial Day, I've never served in the Army. I've never, none of my family members served in the Army, so I can't really speak to the experience. I've known people very closely who have served, and I respect them a lot. I see a lot of the struggles. It's really hot. I forgot to turn on the AC. I've seen a lot of the struggles that people go through, and they're kind of really like horrific. I spent a lot of time in Israel. I lived there for a year when I was studying, and also I go back a lot because I have two siblings there. And like when I see the state of the army in Israel, like the IDF, it's very different. Like it's like it seems like they have a lot. It seems like they are less traumatized from being in war. It's like everyone joins the army, and they're all very, like, they value their military a lot, and they're kind of like, everyone has to join the army, almost everyone. And there's this like real appreciation for the army, and there's a real sense of fulfillment because they're all like at home protecting, from enemies and stuff. And with the U.S. Army, I feel like it's a lot. It seems like a lot tougher. You're investing a lot more. I want to hear your stories, actually. If you comment, tell me your stories about it. If you served, if your family members served, what it was like for you. Everyone has a different experience, of course. It is a big deal to serve, and I don't want to belittle the mission at all. You are protecting our citizens and saving the country. Just because you were hurt and you fought, you lost a limb, or you got PTSD and all this terrible stuff happened, it doesn't make the mission any less worthwhile. It makes it even more, because you sacrificed a part of yourself for the good of the American people. So Mark Jam says it sucked. And it really bothers me that in this country where our military is so important, in this country where the military is so important, it sucks that there isn't enough appreciation for them and value in every single member of the military as a person. as like a special individual life. You know, we value American citizens, every person. We value we value life so much in this country. Why shouldn't it be the same abroad? Why shouldn't people abroad have the same sort of value or sense of value in their lives? They're serving under really awful conditions. I hear a lot of bad stories. I've dated people who served, and I think they're very different than regular civilians. I think that they have this, like, a different perspective of the world and life, and in many cases they're still very traumatized, like sometimes like paranoia or just fear of certain things. They're not fearful, they're like braver than most people, but also like certain things that are just like just like symptoms of PTSD. Is like it's hard to watch sometimes. And yeah, it's a casualty of war, but it's important to try and it's important to not say that, oh well, this is just a casualty of war. It's important to mourn every single life as though it were a civilian's life, because these people are going and fighting for the country to protect civilians. If not for these people, maybe we wouldn't be alive. So their lives are basically our lives. They're not just casualties. Anyways, someone's asking, why do I hate Muslims? I don't hate Muslims. I don't hate Muslims at all. Am I reading a school paper or something? I'm sitting on the floor, and I've got my laptop here, and my internet is down. That's why I'm using my phone. I don't have furniture lying around because I sold it. I sold a bunch of furniture, so that's why I'm sitting on the floor, and I don't have internet because I ended my internet subscription and I got a hotspot for net, like a temporary hotspot, but the hotspot isn't working, so I'm just sitting here in front of my phone, and it might die. So if it dies, everybody, you missed the green wall. I will not be doing it in front of the green wall, at least not for a while, because I'm moving away. So Fernie says we should mandate every high school grad to serve 2 years in the military simply to learn why. I actually talk about this all the time. I think it would be great if everyone served. It would really, really change things. It would really change, people are like, but if everyone served, they would all be having to do the heavy lifting. They won't be, because if everyone served, they would be, the attitude that we'd have around serving in the military would be so different, because everybody's invested in it suddenly and everyone's kids are in it. And not only that, the demographics of people who are in the military won't just be people who are either it won't just be a certain type of people that need the military for whatever reason. It will be everyone will have to do it. And the demographics will change. It will be more of like a representative demographic of people, and not necessarily. Felix says, I would love to serve, but why the hell should I go to Afghanistan? I want to protect my country. That's a good point. If everyone served, then there would be everyone would be more invested in this, and there would be less of a willingness of politicians to want to send their own kids abroad. And there would be just more of a national value, like everyone valuing the military and being more careful, being more mindful of where they're sending their troops, where they're sending their kids, what they're making them do. And proof of that works is the IDF, because the IDF is very much like that. In my humble opinion, when I really, really think that the way that the IDF members are treated in Israel is the ideal way of treating members of the military. They're all required to serve. Everybody has to serve, unless you get like special exemption. Everybody has to serve. Everyone gets drafted after high school or whatever, and they do like 2 years, 3 years. Some people stay longer. They have great benefits. They all get great benefits. They get to travel the world afterwards. They travel to all the places that they maybe saw while they were in the army but didn't get to vacation at, so they all go, and they get to be with friends, with normal people, not just the small group of people who like decided to join the military. They get to be with everybody. They get to be with people of all socioeconomic classes, of all types. They are treated a little softer, in my view, from what I've seen, than people in the U.S. military. Their living conditions are better. Just from what I've seen and what I know, their living conditions are a lot better. They have more accommodations because everybody's kids are in the military, so they have to. Everyone's invested in it, even the prime minister and everyone. Everybody has to send their kids to the military. Everybody has to serve. And so everyone is more invested in it. There's a huge appreciation. Anytime an IDF member passes by, there's a certain love and appreciation and a fulfillment of the people who are serving, because they know that these people are serving in their own country, for their own country. Not always, but but usually that's the case. That's what I've seen. People want their kids to be in the army. People want their kids to serve. And that's how it is here also with a lot of families, but it's not everybody. It's only a few group of people. What if everybody was like that? What if everybody valued the military and what it does to their kids so much that everybody sent their kids there? It's not like that here, and it would be pretty cool if it was like that. So Fernie says everyone should be mandated to serve in some form of service. I agree. Not everybody gets sent to combat. Not everyone has to go and, in the trenches and fight. It's optional, it's not everyone does that. In the IDF, people want to join combat. That's what I remember. Everyone, everybody wanted to do it. It was just the cool thing to do. And ironically, they're a war-torn country, but they're having less casualties. So fewer casualties. So anyway, those are my thoughts about the military, and I really, really admire and respect people who serve and are willing to put themselves out there and be the people, the shield for everybody else, the few people who are willing to do that for everybody else. Joe says Ilhan Omar should be required to serve and then get accidentally left behind. That's funny. Ilhan Omar should serve. Have you ever noticed that, anyway, I'm not going to get into that, but Ilhan Omar should serve. And so should a lot of these members of Congress who are just so, it seems, not invested in life here in the United States, where they're representing the constituents of. They're not representing the people of Afghanistan or Africa or South America or Europe. They're representing the people of the United States. So maybe if they served, they would be more invested in that. Okay, let's talk about periods. So, CBS created this hilarious documentary called Period. It's like a less than half an hour documentary, and it's all about how we're not talking enough about periods. Busy Phillips, actress, is the star of the show. We're not talking about enough about periods. This is in case you didn't watch the documentary. It's very quick. It's less than half an hour if you want to watch it. So it's kind of like really political. Like, it's dumb, but also very political. And it's all about how, we're not talking enough about periods, and that's sexist. And periods, if men had periods, then it would be different because we're so sexist. And we would be talking about periods more. We would care more about periods. And it also talks about how taxpayers should subsidize period products for women. It describes tampons as a necessity, just like prescription medication and food. It talks about tampon tax advocacy, how different products around the world around the country get tax exemptions, but periods don't. Okay, so I don't understand why certain products get tax exemptions and not other products, and that's dumb. Like, why should sunflower seeds get tax exemptions in any state? That's so dumb. Why do certain things get tax exemptions? But at the same time, pads and tampons are not a necessity. They have this Busy Phillips. There's this lady, this one lady. She's she talks about how it's so sexist that people don't like to talk about periods or care about periods. They talk about how it's such a travesty that no one this is their quote. No one should have to experience having to choose between buying food and buying tampons. No one should have to experience that. No one should have to go through the utter trauma of not having a tampon or pad at hand when you're bleeding. Oh no. This is their quote that they use. It's sad. It's demeaning. It makes you feel very sad. It's depressing. If you can't even put a loaf of bread on your table, how can you afford a box of tampons when you can't make ends meet? Oh, they call it a human rights issue. These are not my words. These are their words. A human rights issue, okay? They're saying it's happening because of sexism. People don't care about women. They don't care about human rights. Pads and tampons are a human right. Are you kidding me? Pads and tampons are not a human right. They're not a necessity. Anyone who says that is either a dude or a woman who's full of shit, okay? Because I'm a woman who, I'll just put it this way, my reproductive system is working very healthily and very normally and regularly, and I would just like to say I can tell you about how periods work. And periods, okay, no one is dying from not having a pad or a tampon. They say that it's oh no, it's just not having your meds or food, okay? Prescription meds, okay, can save your life. If you don't have the right medication for something, and you don't have them, you don't have the right one, and it's a fatal issue, you can die. People will die if they don't have their meds. People will die if they don't have food, okay? people won't die for not having a pad or tampon. They'll get dirty, okay. That's another issue, but they're not going to die, okay? No one is dying from not having a pad or tampon, okay? And actually, I never heard of anyone dying because they didn't have a tampon. It's not a human rights violation to like not voluntarily buy tampons for people. It's not a human rights violation. It's called tampons are not a necessity or human rights. And there are so many things you can do, by the way, if you don't have a tampon or a pad, okay? There's, I've had many instances where I either ran out or was in a place where I didn't have access to pads or tampons, okay? Like if you're camping or something, you don't have access, and or you're just in a place that's like you're hiking or you're hiking. Oh my gosh, there was this one thing where like traveling and doing like this whole camping trip, okay? Like there are many cases where women don't have who can perfectly afford. By the way, tampons and pads are very cheap. They're like a couple dollars. A couple dollars for a pack that will supply you for like 3 months, okay? It's really not expensive, okay? And so even if they were and like poor people couldn't afford tampons and pads, okay? There are many cases that perfectly well-off women have not had pads or tampons and they didn't die. They just, there's something called toilet paper, okay? People use toilet paper, okay? And it's not the best and it doesn't always feel comfortable, and sometimes you're worried about leaking, so you just like use the whole roll of toilet paper, but it's not the worst thing ever. It's not less hygienic. You're not going to die. And in fact, there are some people who go their entire lives without using any of these products because they don't trust processed, like manufactured things on their skin. There are people like that. There are people who are either like hippies and they don't want to use the trees, or they're like super like Southern California like homeopathic, whatever types of people. Just you want to use everything natural, and they go through their entire lives, or they go through their lives with no pads, no tampons, and in many cases, no toilet paper. Guess what they use? They use cloths, just like the olden days. They use traditional menstrual products, such as cloths that are sewn together. Okay? They use, what they use in like the really olden days, like the ancient times? They used leaves and other things from nature, okay? There's so many things they use. Oh my gosh, there are times that this has happened to like every woman at least a few times, okay? Like they were in a place with no pads, no tampons, and if they were lucky enough that there's toilet paper, they used toilet paper. If they weren't they weren't lucky enough to have pads or tampons or toilet papers, they use a cloth. And it's very unlikely that it's going to come to that, okay? By the way, like, I've like only maybe 2 or 3 times, a few times used tampons, okay? Like, it's not the biggest deal. honestly. Like, even if you were really poor, that, like, even if you were so poor that in your house you couldn't afford toilet paper, and for some reason you were cleaning yourself with like a leaf or something, even if you were that poor that you weren't able to clean yourself with toilet paper because you can't afford toilet paper, even if you were at that level, you'd still be okay. You'd still be able to go to like a public bathroom and get toilet paper. But I bet you're not at the level where you can't afford toilet paper. If you're complaining about toilet paper, if you're complaining about how pads and tampons are a human right and they're a necessity, then I bet you have toilet paper at home. So, yep, you're not going to die if you don't have a tampon or a pad. You're going to be okay. So, yeah. Also, another thing, Busy Phillips, she's like the star of the show. She says she's a star of this documentary because she's like the most famous one. She talks about, this is her quote, "If men had their periods, it would be an effing holiday." I'm just not saying the F word because I don't want to get banned from YouTube. "They would get off from work probably the week before and the 4 days after their period so that they could recover. It would just be a different experience. But men do not get their periods. Women get their periods." So, first of all, the title of this stream, Busy Phillips is a transphobe. Okay, that's a joke. I don't think Busy Phillips is an actual transphobe. I don't think anyone is a transphobe unless they hate people for being trans. Most people don't hate people. Okay? But anyways, Busy Phillips is saying that only women get their periods and men don't get their periods. That's true. Only women get their periods and men don't get their periods. But that actually goes against the narrative of like, oh well, men can also get their periods if they trans, what do you call it? If they transform into women, then men can also get their periods. Okay, so that's the whole point of intersectional politics. And a lot of feminists are like this, where a lot of feminists will like, they'll complain about trans issues because they say that, you know, like trans people claiming womanhood when they're not actually, when they weren't born biologically female, it like diminishes the severity of actual female problems, like female reproductive problems, because periods are really hard. They are very, very difficult to deal with. And I think men would not be able to handle it. I mean, women's bodies are equipped to handle it, but it's still very hard. Like, it's like the worst part of the month ever. And it, you know, if it depending on the woman, sometimes it's like awful. You could end up in a hospital just from that specific cycle. You could end up in a hospital, you could pass out. In my case, I vomit many times. Some, you know, not every time, but like sometimes I vomit. It's really bad and difficult, but it is just a woman. It is something that women are equipped to handle more than men are. And true, men wouldn't be handling it, but that's why they're men. That's the whole point of being a woman. So if men had their periods, so this documentary is saying like women are not treated well enough. Like, the reason why we don't care about periods is because women have them, but if men had them, it would be different. So the thing is that, like, if men had their periods, we would tell them that they don't need to come to work as much, and they should stay home and take care of their bodies, rest up a little bit, which that's what we tell women. But when we tell women that, that's suddenly sexist. So this is why women are more likely to stay home than men are. This is why many women don't work and they choose to stay home and work with having kids and stuff. This is, like, I enjoy working and focusing on my career and this and that, but this is why, like, women often have to take off from work because their periods are so bad. And they need to rest more. When you have your period, you have to rest more. You have to take care of your body. If you don't, you'll have, like, it's going to be really awful. It will really affect your body. And people don't take care of their bodies as much. But it doesn't have to do with, like, society hates women. It has to do with, that's the reality of having your period, is you're more likely to have to stay home because of your period. And if men had their periods, so many other things would be different. That's why they're men. That's why they're not women. Like, that's why, like, if you're gonna complain that why are women having to work less, and why is it, like, accepted in society for women to work less than men, and why is it acceptable for society that, like, there are less career women than career men? This is why. And then don't complain about periods being difficult and women taking off, and women, don't complain about periods being difficult and having to show up to work if you have your period. Like, you can only have one or the other. Either recognize that periods are difficult and make it necessary for you to stay home and take care of your body because you have your period, or either accept that, or don't complain about that and just treat yourself like everybody else. Treat yourself just the same way that men are treated. It's not necessarily positive or negative. Just don't acknowledge that you're a woman who has her period. So you can't have it both ways. And also, like, just because people are not constantly talking about periods, it doesn't make it, like, a sexist thing. Like, that's something that people are trying to create as a problem because it's political. They want higher taxes on certain things. They want to promote certain industries. That's a political thing and a business thing. That's not a reality. It's not like you're not going to die if you don't have tampons or pads. Periods are gross. Everybody knows that, and not wanting to talk about your period the same way that you talk about, like, do you talk about going to the bathroom all the time? No. And people are like, well, period is not as bad as bathroom. Period is it's a natural part of the human reproductive cycle for women. But, like, it's not a part that we like to talk about because it's gross. It is gross objectively. Like, bleeding is not fun or cool to talk about. It's not like, I don't know, it's not like doing your hair, or getting a haircut. It's gross, and it makes you vomit, and it makes you, like, it's the same idea as peeing or pooping, actually. Now that I think about it, it is the same idea. Haha, why aren't we talking about peeing and pooping all the time? It's the same idea because you're getting rid of a part of the body that is not needed anymore. Just like you shed skin, just like you poop and pee and get rid of bacteria from your body and get rid of the acids from your body and all that stuff, you're also getting rid of your uterine lining, and you're getting rid of the blood cells that are unclean, because the female body renews blood every month, which is amazing. It's so healthy, and it's like you're basically like being supplied with new blood constantly, and your blood is refreshed so that, like, I don't know, when you have kids, they'll be healthy and shit and whatever. So, okay, Mama Luxie says it's absolutely not like peeing and pooing. Okay, that might be an exaggeration, but like, it's not like getting a haircut, okay? Like, having your period is not, like, people don't like to talk about it because, not because it's happening to women and we hate talking about things that have to do with women and we hate women. People don't like to talk about it because it's just not something people like to talk about because it's gross. Why, oh no, Pardes, you're part of the problem. You're saying periods are gross. Why is that even, that's your mind was just affected by society. That's like, you think blood is gross, right? I don't know if you're cool with blood. Like, many people faint at the sight of blood. Blood isn't something that people are talking about constantly. I don't get why period would be like on the same level as something else that we don't. I personally don't see periods as a taboo. Like, my friends and I are talking about periods all the time. Okay, like, if I'm not talking about it with a dude, it's probably because they just don't get it because they don't have their periods. And usually men are very respectful about it. Like, if you go to work, if you're female and you go to work and you have a male boss and you say, I need to go home because I'm not feeling well, if you have any other problem, they will be like, well, do you have a doctor's note? Are you really having a cold? Can you not function? Is that affecting your work? Okay, if you tell them, just say, I'm having a female problem. I'm not feeling well, and just female stuff, or just like hint at your period. They won't ask questions. They'll be like, okay, go home, feel better. That's the experience I've had, even with the worst male bosses that are like the most strict and the most hardcore. If you hint that you have your period in any way, then they'll let you go. Mama Loxy says, you say it's gross but not an advocate for you say it's gross but not an advocate. Where's Mama Loxy? You say it's gross, not an advocate for free pads and tampons. You want to use toilet paper. I don't want to use toilet paper, and I'm not saying that women shouldn't have tampons and pads. I'm just saying that it's total propaganda, total bullshit propaganda to say that pads and tampons are a human rights necessity. It's not a human right to have pads or tampons. I'm sorry. You're not going to die if you don't have pads or tampons. And you can function perfectly normally. It's not the best situation. It's not ideal, but you're not going to die without pads or tampons. I literally, because I'm too lazy to walk down the block to CVS to get a new set, I will just go with toilet paper. It's not the biggest deal. I'm not going to die. And even if CVS is down the block, sometimes, it's such a nothing burger to use toilet paper. It's such a nothing burger that sometimes, actually very often, if I run out, I will just not go to CVS down the block because I'm too lazy. And I'll just wait for like next time I'm out of the house and I'm passing by CVS down the block and I'll just get it then. Anyway, that's insane. It's propaganda to say that pads and tampons are a necessity. So try to convince me otherwise. Our Perry says so. Toilet paper is a human right. You know what? Toilet paper is okay. So Mama Lucky C says you can't wear toilet paper to school gym class. Okay. If you can't afford to buy pads and tampons, how can you afford gym class? First of all, yeah, I've been active many situations with toilet paper. Like, it's not comfortable, guys, but it's not a necessity. Oh no, but you won't be comfortable in gym class. Okay, people who think pads and tampons are a necessity are first world. That's what I'm gonna say. This is a first world attitude. Guys, stop arguing with me. Give me a real reason why pads and tampons are a necessity. Not like, oh, but if they go swimming, they won't have a tampon. They won't be able to properly, they won't be able to properly keep the blood from flowing. Okay, guess what? By the way, I don't know about you, but when I'm going swimming, when I have my period, I don't go swimming. The world isn't gonna end. Oh no, but what if you're on the swim team? Okay, if you're on the swim team, if you can afford to be on the swim team and not working and whatever, then you can afford to get pads and tampons, okay? Don't be on the swim team if you can't afford to buy pads and tampons. Go work for like 1 hour a week or 1 hour a month, and you'll have more than enough money to buy pads and tampons. Go like on the street, okay, and have a sign that says, I can't afford pads and tampons. People like will just a few coins, okay, will be enough for you to go and buy pads and tampons, okay? Don't make it more expensive, whatever. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have it. I like toilet paper. I like using toilet paper so much better. Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if I had to, I could do without a pad or a tampon. I actually gone most of my life without tampon. The overwhelming majority of my life, I have gone without a tampon ever. So, and I don't swim. I don't swim when I have my period. I'm not gonna die, okay? When you have your period, by the way. Oh no, but what about if you don't have a pad or tampon, you can't be in school gym class? Okay. When I have my period, I don't go to school gym class. I don't even go to the gym. Okay, you're not supposed to. When you have your period, you're supposed to be home resting or doing resting things. Eat food, be comfortable. Oh, you can't afford food. Okay. Rest, drink water if you can afford to drink water. I don't know. You can't afford to rest. If you can't afford to rest, you're not affording to go to gym class, okay? So all these excuses for why pads and tampons are a necessity are total Total bullshit. Ha. Total bullshit. Okay. This is coming from a perfectly, okay, Aces says, are you a doctor? Look, I'm not a doctor. I am a girl who experiences periods, okay? I know how they work, and I've gone through many cycles, okay? And I know how your period can affect you. If you take care of yourself throughout the month, by the way, this isn't even having to do with pads or tampons. This is just having to do with periods. If you take care of yourself throughout the month, you'll feel a lot better when you have your period. Like, eat properly, have a routine, sleep properly, don't be stressed out. Women's bodies, believe it or not, women's bodies are a little more high maintenance than men's bodies. I know it's like gonna sound sexist if I say this. I'm not saying this in a negative fashion. I don't hate myself and I don't want anyone to disrespect me. I'm just saying a reality of most fertile women, okay, are more high maintenance. Our bodies are more high maintenance than men's bodies. Like, if men go days without eating or like doing things that are highly impactful on their bodies, they won't lose their reproductive functions. They won't. But women can. Women can lose our reproductive functions if we do something that is too highly impactful on our body. We can lose our ability to have kids. I mean, I guess with men you can lose your reproductive functions if someone kicks you in the balls. You've got that. So yeah, with women, like, you want to be healthy, you want to be able to have like a normal period, take care of yourself, rest up, drink lots of water throughout the month. Don't be stressed. Do yoga. Whenever I go to yoga, it's all women. Yoga is great for women. Do yoga. Feel good. Feel comfortable. It's not like embarrassing to do that. Women. Mama Loxy says women are treated like. You're saying because women have to be treated like third world countries. This isn't a third world country thing. I'm just telling women, this is take care of your bodies. Saying that our bodies are more high maintenance isn't like, and this is, the government shouldn't tell you what to do. Like, women should be able to vote, women should be able to have the same rights as men, of course, obviously. I'm just telling you, like, the reality of women, as a woman, okay, woman, like, a dude not taking care of himself throughout the month and not having enough vitamins and minerals and the right foods and whatever, a dude not taking care of himself throughout the month isn't gonna, like, lose his reproductive, like, he's not gonna, like, the end of the month have an awful time. It's kind of like a progress report, or like a report card. Like, at the end of the year in school, or like at the end of a summer, at the end of a course in college, you get a grade, and that's how well you did in that class. That's kind of the idea of periods. Like, throughout the month, however well you've taken care of yourself and however well you've, like, taken care of your body and, like, slept and taken care of your stress and whatever, that's how well your period will be for you at the end of the month. It's like a progress report, or like a report, on the past month, because it really, really, really does affect your period. And it affects how heavily you're going to bleed. It affects how painful it's going to be. Periods are really painful, like really, 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 in many cases. Some women are lucky, but in many cases are really painful. It affects whether or not you're going to vomit or have problems. So anyway, if you don't have a pad or tampon, it won't affect any of that. Ha! Who thought of that? If you don't have a tampon, your period won't be affected at all. If you use toilet paper or even a cloth, your period will not be affected. If you didn't use any tampon and you walked around like bleeding everywhere, your period would not be affected. Okay? You would still be like the same functioning human that you were before, and you would not die. Or be like even a tiny bit less healthy. Maybe you will like stress out about bleeding and not having a tampon, and then due to the stress of not having a tampon, then you might then it might affect your health, and then it might affect your period. Kat says, no wonder anti-Semitism exists because of because of creatures like you. Oh my gosh, that was very anti-Semitic. I'm just gonna say that was you're an anti-Semite. That was very anti-Semitic of you. Dylan says, do these podcasts happen every weeknight? They happen every weeknight. Once in a while, like last week, I was just having a really bad week and I took a night off. But yeah, they happen every weeknight. And they do not happen on weekdays. They happen Monday through Friday at around 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, because there's going to be at some point where I don't share this stuff on Twitter. So if you're on Twitter and you're seeing this on Twitter and you're not subscribed to YouTube, just warning you, if you're not subscribed to YouTube, there's going to be a certain point where I don't share things on Twitter and I just share them on YouTube, just because I don't want to clutter everything on Twitter. So right now I'm still building up my YouTube thing, which is why I'm sharing this stuff on Twitter, because that's where I have a bigger following. But at some point I won't be sharing it all on Twitter. Just be on YouTube. So don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find it, if it's not in this link, you could find it. You can find it on YouTube, same name, and yeah. Chino says that you got banned on Twitter again. That is awful. What did you say? Dylan says, what is my YouTube? So YouTube, Pardes Sela, Pardes, last name Seleh. Search it in YouTube, and the first one that comes up is me, because there's no other person with my name, because I'm so cool. Actually, I don't even know if there's any person with my first name. I've actually heard it, I think, but yeah. I know someone with my first name in Farsi, Pardes. So, and one last thing, since it's Memorial Day weekend, and speaking of people who are affected very traumatically by serving in the military, and how they should be appreciated and taken care of. So I had a classmate in undergrad who had served in the military, and she was in Afghanistan, okay? She went through some serious shit in combat, okay? Or I don't know what she was dealing with, but she was dealing with something that was very impactful on her body while she was abroad, when she was deployed. She was dealing with something she was engaged. She had a fiance, she was engaged, and then she was deployed. And then she dealt with something very impactful on her body. And when she came back, she went to the doctor and was told that she could never have children. And it was like such a blow to her, because she comes from like an Asian family, a very traditional Asian family, and they like in their culture, it's like you can't reproduce. You're just like, what's the point of being a woman? And it would have made her parents very sad. I mean, I know my parents are like that. It would have made her parents very sad if she can't have children. Sorry. It would have made her parents very sad if she hadn't have children. So when she came back and from Afghanistan and she found out that she can't have children, she was so heartbroken the way she described it to me was she felt like she's not a woman anymore, which it's awful. Really, 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 it's really bad, and you shouldn't never have to feel this way, ever. All people who have their periods are women. All women don't have their periods. Having your period is a privilege that not everybody has. Having your period means that if you wanted to have children, you can. And it's also actually like healthy for you because it cleans out all your blood. But it's also a sign that if you want to have children, you can. So it's something that women take it for granted, especially since it's painful. I definitely take it for granted. It's painful and gross and we hate it, but it's also a really beautiful thing. We don't talk about it all because it's gross, but as a concept, it's really beautiful. And for this woman, she felt like not being able to have children again is like she lost her womanhood, which is really sad. And because of that, she basically broke up with her fiance. Even though he wanted to stay with her, he was totally fine with that. He's like, you know what? Like, I don't care if we can't have kids as long as I can be with you. She couldn't handle it. She was like, no, you should, I can't do this. I feel like I'm not a woman anymore, and you should be with someone who can have kids. And she just like divorced him. She broke up with him, and it was like her life totally changed upside down. She was really, really, it was really enlightening being in her class and learning from her. And I felt really sad to hear her story. She said that she feels like when she came back, she felt like people didn't understand. When she came back from being deployed, she felt like civilians didn't understand what she was going through and didn't understand like the privileges they have from other people going and fighting for them. She felt kind of like abandoned. She felt, President Obama was president at the time, and she said that she felt like he didn't appreciate people like her, that she was basically going to fight a war that people didn't appreciate. She was protecting citizens here in the United States that had no idea what she was even doing. And this is something that I hear from a lot of people who've served, is that they feel like they come back and they're in like, they come back from like a different world, that a different planet that nobody will ever understand, and they're always, always, always going to be in their own personal, like, hell, because nobody else will understand it. It's really terrible to feel that way, and people go through their entire lives feeling that way. They're in this, their own personal hell that nobody in the civilian world will ever understand. And they'll wake up from, anyways. So, it was sad for me to hear her story. Her name was, what was her name again? Lucy or Leslie? I forgot her name, actually. Probably not Lucy, like Leslie or something. She was, anyway, so I think she said she was like trying to date women from that point because she didn't feel like, she felt like she didn't want to be with a man because she didn't feel like a woman, but I don't know. This is an undergrad and I don't remember like everything. By the way, women have a lot more flexibility to experiment with other women. Like, women can be bisexual. More women are bisexual for sure than men. Women are a lot more sexually fluid. So, her name was Pat or whatever. I actually really don't remember her name. So, anyway, I'm hoping that wherever she is, Lucy or Leslie or Pat, I'm hoping that wherever she is, she, maybe it was fresh in her mind, but maybe wherever she is, she's feeling a lot better, and she's finding, a newfound sense of fulfillment in life, and maybe she would consider adopting maybe she wanted to, if she really wanted to have kids, which I know she really wanted to. Okay, so... Wow, I'm getting so many haters on this stream. It's kind of weird. Like, first of all, I'm so great. Why would you hate me? I'm so fun and funny, and I talk about funny things and fun things. Why would you hate me? Second of all, you're stupid. Anyway, third of all, I don't know, but why are so many haters on my feed? I feel like some hater probably shared this, and that's why I'm getting all these random people with like, you're a grifter, you're stupid, you're a typical Jew, you're ugly, I hate your face. I don't get it. You're not making a single argument that supports that anything I said is stupid or grifting or whatever you call it. Like, just prove me wrong, and then we can have a conversation. But so far, you're just being stupid, and But for the people who are not haters, I love you so much. I hope you subscribe to my channel so I can show you more stuff, Anyway, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and heart this video, heart, and see you tomorrow night, same time,